Well, that's as many leaflets as I can hand out. The campaign is pretty much over. It's election day tomorrow, and I'm hoping for a very, very interesting result.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the pre-election edition of the Libertarian Listener with me, Chris Wilkinson. And I am very tired, and my legs are aching immeasurably. But I'm glad to say that this campaign is now over. Well, what a campaign it has been. It's hard to comprehend, really, but it's taken a hell of a lot of time to put together, a hell of a lot of time to actually see the plans be put into action. And though there have been setbacks, notably work getting in the way, I'm doing my final shifts at Debenhams, and that's still getting in the way for the actual election counts, which I can't attend. But, that's just a minor inconvenience. It would have been nice if work was a little bit less than it was. That would have given me more time for leafleting and to do some of the things that we never actually got round to doing. I suppose one of the big regrets is that we didn't manage to do telecanvassing, which would have been a very interesting thing to do. Would have actually put us in direct contact with voters, which is kind of what I wanted the campaign to be all about. Although we did very well with the leaflet. 4 big boxes arrived, and we have cleared 3 of them, and I'm eternally grateful to the 6 or 7 people who have been a part of this campaign. And just think about that. I'm an independent, and running in a city council by-election and the Staffordshire County Council election, pretty much with no political history. I've certainly never held public office, but picking up 6 or 7 distributors and helpers to help me along in the campaign, and I am very, very grateful for all of the effort that they have put into distributing the leaflets and providing ideas. I mean, there are people who've given me advice who aren't even part of that number. There are a great many other people, such as those people who are involved with independent libertarians. They've been on hand to provide feedback on the leaflet design that I did, to suggest things for the campaign, and it's all been very valuable advice, and of course drawing from their own experiences. I just hope that the results tomorrow, well, we won't know it tomorrow, but I hope that people do turn out and recognise that this has been a well-meant campaign. There's nothing has been hidden from them. It's all been out in the open, and we did the survey, which I think was actually very useful to gauge voters' opinions. We received a fair few responses from that, and it's been a wild ride. I mean, I've hardly had any sleep over the past 5.5 to 6 weeks, but it's been worth it, and I just hope that whatever arises from this, whether it is an election victory or not, that people do think more carefully and more critically of those who occupy public office, because a lot of what's happened over the past 14 months has been because people have not paid attention. They have not criticised or critiqued the people who are in charge. And that is, of course, how we have ended up in the situation we're in today, where we have a kind of tyranny that is very authoritarian, placing restrictions on our civil liberties and freedoms and what we do and what we say and what we think, for seemingly no other reason than to achieve control over people. A lot of the arguments that have been put forwards over the past year by the government and by, I suppose, establishment parties of all colours, really, have been disproven. And I think the great thing is now we've had a lot of time to actually get our message out and to get people thinking. And this is going to be, I think, a great upset for both Labour and the Conservatives and other parties. But I just can't see, with the way that things have gone, I can't see those two parties doing very well at all. And I hope to be proven right over the next 24 hours. I suppose the last thing that I've got to do is to actually get out my voters, and I'll be sending an email out later on tonight, and that will be the call to action. Tell your friends, tell your family, and let's hope for a really positive result tomorrow, because I'm very sure that, certainly for the city by-election, I'm very sure that we couldn't really have done much else, that we've leafleted pretty much everywhere. 99% of households have been leafleted in Stowe, and that's been excellent, a real achievement of this campaign. A bit about the leaflets, I suppose. The company that I used was Litchfield Printers, and they did 6,500 leaflets. We did about 3/4 of that amount over the past 5 days. So that is a very good rate of distribution. But the company was really good. Really good price, really good quality. The leaflets are glossy and fairly firm, so that when you put them through the letterboxes, they are, intact. They don't get torn up or anything by some of the bristles that are on the inside, which has been really good. And it's certainly a company that I will use again for potentially future elections, but probably more so for my own business and the development of Blacklist Press. But they've done very well with that leaflet, and I think some of the credit, of course, is my own, because I designed it and took the photographs for it, and did the copy for it. I did get advice from people about certain presentational aspects of it, and it has been improved over the course of its developments, so that the text on the policy side was more readable, and certain improvements made, just tightening everything up and making it look as nice as possible. I think the result is actually very good. I'm very impressed with it. It depends how well tomorrow goes as to whether I use that sort of design again, but I think it's a very good design nonetheless. And the response, from people who've wanted to get in contact with me and with this campaign has been, frankly, something that I never expected. We had 6 or 7 distributors, some of them based in Lichfield, some of them not based in Lichfield, so coming from all over, and helping to achieve an independent victory for, I'm not a famous person or anything. I have no real, notoriety, even at a local level. But it's been an amazing response. And I suppose it gives me great hope for the kind of things that I believe in, and that most of the people listening to this believe in, that we are not alone in all of this, and there are many people waiting to be found out there who believe exactly the same. Pro-liberty, anti-authoritarian, anti-social distancing, anti-lockdown, anti-mask, things like that. But it's been really great to see so many people come out in support of this. I suppose in terms of any regrets, I would have liked to have done telecanvassing. I think that would have really put us into greater contact with voters, and doing that earlier on in the campaign, I think, could have primed the leaflet and also perhaps assisted the survey. The other regret, of course, is that this time round there were too many leaflets and not enough distributors. The last time I stood, it was 2 years ago, for the Lichfield District Council, and I ran out of leaflets, which was quite annoying, but nonetheless it resulted in a great number of people voting for me, and I can only hope for the same tomorrow. I think it's been a fairly good campaign in that sense. In terms of its successes, well, I'm very, very grateful to everybody who donated to this campaign. We've received over, I think it was, in terms of fundraising, over £100 for this small independent campaign. And a lot of that was provided through the Independent Libertarians Association and other people who've given smaller amounts voluntarily. And the money has been well spent, I think. We've spent it on, a lot of it went on the leaflets, but also online advertising as well. On Facebook, because that's always a good, I don't like the platform really, but it's a useful tool to reach people in the local area. Speaking to a couple of people on the doorstep, I didn't see too many people. In the circumstances, I don't think it would have been right to go knocking on each door. I think people have had something to say about that. I've got no problem with it, but you know how some people can be. Generally, very positive responses. I remember one woman who doesn't live too far away from me said she was a Labour voter all her life, except for what happened with Jeremy Corbyn, and now over the past year she's been very disillusioned with politics and the way that the system is going. And I kind of managed to talk around and say, well, actually, what I'm advocating for is actually a more people-orientated and people-led politics. What is the point of a political representative if they do not represent the people? And, that sort of message really latched onto her, I suppose. It created a very positive response. And, she's not the only one. A few other people have said that as well. So, yeah, it's just a shame I never managed to get quite the coverage in the leaflets that I would have wanted. But yes, all in all, a very good campaign. And once again, a great big thank you to everybody who's been involved in it. And let's just wait for the results now. I'm sure they're going to be interesting. I leave you now with extended footage of last week's interviews with Sean Finch of the Heritage Party and my former co-host Jason Salvesen as we went to the London Freedom March on the 24th of April. So I hope you enjoy these additional questions. Do you not think, though, that what with the removal of restrictions progressively, is that going to take some of the heat out of the protests and things that are going on? Is that going to be sort of a disincentive then to take part?
What do you mean, like now with the pubs, how we've opened up the beer gardens? You mean like that? And then it's like that's a little bit of a little treat they've given us because we've been good little citizens or whatever. You mean that? No, I don't think it is. I think people have properly woken up now, and also the pubs, how they are now, they're not sustainable. The model that the government have allowed them to operate under is, I mean, the example I use is like you have a bath and there's 5 holes in the bath, and the government has given you a solution to cover up 3 of the holes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's still 2 unplugged. So the model that they've given, where it's only you're just assuming that every pub has a garden, or at least a large garden, which is not the case. Not every pub has a garden or a front garden. So some of them are still closed. So even if they do have gardens, the business model is not sustainable. So compliance will not save you. So if landlords are out there, managers and whatever are going along with this, it won't save you. You're just delaying the inevitable. So you might as well get up off your ass now and actually come out to protest, because you're just delaying your own fate. So I don't think it will work. No, to answer your question, I think people are wising up now. You're seeing, like I said, I estimate 200,000 people were there. And what I don't like is that the media, again, lying, they're trying to claim that there was up to 10,000 people. And fortunately, since this whole protest, this whole lockdown began last year, about a year and a half ago now almost, I've set up my own, with a bunch of other guys, we've set up our own loosely connected media outlet, an umbrella sort of thing called Access Media UK. And one of my partners, Resistance GB, YouTuber, so do subscribe to him. He's really great. He's just released a video literally only a few hours ago saying where he's just simply stood statically at the front of the protest in Oxford Street, and he's just stood there for half an hour, because it had to take half an hour for the entire crowd, for the masses to pass by, and he just stood there, and you can see half an hour, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have passed. Mathematically, it is impossible for it to be only 10,000. So either you're an idiot, you can't count, or you're lying. And the media, again, they're lying, because we have got the evidence. This isn't like, see, this is the thing, they're dying. They're dinosaur old media, and they know it. And they're state controlled as well. They're state controlled journalists, because it's amazed me. You always sort of think that, they're just controlled by the state. You don't really have any evidence to it. Since this whole access media journey began, we've actually discovered that they literally are controlled by the state. There's something called the UK Press Association, and it was only created in 1991. It was at least the 90s anyway. I can't remember what exact 90 year. And the state created them, and they used, just, like never let a crisis go to waste. They used the excuse of the IRA as to a reason why every journalist had to apply for a UK Press Association card. And it's basically the state determines whether you are a journalist or not. And they're literally called gatekeepers. That's not a lie. They're literally called gatekeepers, right? And they were used the excuse of IRA, journalists might come into Downing Street and blow up Number 10, because people forget as well, those black gates on Downing Street, they never used to be there. You could walk up to Downing Street, you could walk outside Number 10. It's never an issue. So what we've discovered, like people like Subject Access, who's another partner, Actual Interview, Tyrant Finder UK, Resistance GB, myself, Delivering Liberty. What we've discovered is that the police will come up to you and go, can you prove you're a journalist? And I go, yes, here's my body of work. I'll show my YouTube channel, because that's all you need to prove, really, right? There's no law saying that you have to have a UK Press Association card. And they go, no, I want to see your Press Association card. So, well, no, I don't have that. There's nothing legally that I need to provide to say that I'm a journalist. That's the whole point of freedom of the press. That's the whole point of it. Like back in the day before, believe it or not, there were journalists before the 1990s. And all they used to simply do was that old trick of they put a little press thing in their hat, or just have some sort of symbolism to say that they're a member of the press. And that was it, because it's freedom of the press. So they actually are state controlled journalists, because they all have UK Press Association cards. So it's very interesting. So obviously the state determines whether you are a journalist. It's like what's going on now, where the state determines whether you are an essential business. Well, anything that puts food on the table, that is an essential business. So do you know what I mean? This is the sort of Orwellian and I imagine yourself, Chris, probably, did you know about that, the UK Press Association thing?
I didn't know about that, but I knew about the gates at Downing Street.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. The more you look into, because the devil's always in the details. I always say the evil's always hidden in plain sight, and you really do realise just how Orwellian we've got, and it's all done behind closed doors, and like you don't realise it until you actually experience it. And yeah, it really is. This is how bad we've gotten now. Where I wouldn't be surprised if that was a Tony Blair thing in '97, but I think it was actually John Major, but I don't know. But it just shows how far we've fallen. So yeah, so that it's a dishonest thing that the press are doing at the moment. There weren't 10,000. There were at least 200,000. We go to Resistance GB video YouTube to actually check that out. So yeah, it's like this will never end, and people need to stop complying, because like I said at the start, compliance won't save you. I'm sure there were people in, I'm going to maybe use a bit of extreme example, but I'm sure there were people in Germany of a certain ethnicity that said, oh, well, if I just go along with it, nothing bad will happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is that kind of way of thinking. And that's why all of these businesses need to stop complying, because, and I honestly think now, I think we need to sort of step our game up as well. And I honestly think the next, as again, always peaceful. The next thing we need to do is, with businesses, is just simply not comply. And if it gets that bad, don't pay your taxes. And with the normal citizens, don't pay your council tax. Because it's all great having 1 million people outside Parliament, right? But at the end of the day, money talks. As soon as these MPs, these lords, these civil servants, all the state actors, like the police, etc., once they realise they're not getting their money, then they'll care. Right, having 1 million people protest it's a great day out. I mean, I met you the other day. It really is a good laugh, when you're out there having fun. You're sort of business and pleasure in a way, yeah. And that's great doing all of that. But as we found out with like the GameStop stuff, right? When because I've been saying this for years. Like I said, you need to hit them in the wallet, not I'm going to write a petition to Congress or Parliament, and we're going to like try and get these lobbyists and stuff from doing all this stuff. It's like, that ain't gonna work, mate. Right? You need to hit them hard in the wallet. And the GameStop thing was a great phenomenon, and I'm so glad that they found that Achilles heel, and they just went, and then because all of those big multinational corporations, they have been using that same tactic for decades, right? And now that the average person is doing it, now they're outraged, even though they've been doing it themselves. And it's like, this is what we need to do with we just got to stop paying our taxes, because they can't think about it. They can't arrest us all. They can't physically process us all in courts. It's impossible. If it gets to that point, just cut off, say, no, sorry, I don't consent to this anymore. I'm not paying that. I'm sorry, I'm not paying. Like, I've had enough of this. And that's what I've always said. I've always lobbied for advocated for a voluntary society where you voluntarily pay taxation. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's only then all of the government services will improve. Because right at the moment, things like the NHS, etc., the reason why they don't improve, because they know they're getting your money, regardless if they deliver you a good service or a bad service. I mean, I think about this as human nature. Say if I owned a shop, and I know at the end of the day, Chris, that you're going to give me your money, regardless if I am nice to you or anything, or be a good salesman, why would I ever bother trying? You see what I mean? Like, I know I'm going to get your money, so why would I ever bother trying to be nice to you or really try and really sell my service or sell my product to you? And this is the NHS. This is all of the state services, not just the NHS, all of them. That's why private sector and charity is always vastly superior per capita. I mean, like, compared to a state service, because the state doesn't care. They're going to get your money because it's done through the barrel of a gun. If you don't pay it, you go to prison. But eventually, people will come to your property, break into your property, i.e. the police, state enforcers, and they will take you away and put you in jail. That's when they care. It's like Al Capone. Al Capone committed all of these atrocities, and then the state only cared. It's like, what? He's not paying his taxes. Like, like that. That was it. So that got him in prison. So this is what I'm saying we have to do, mate. I know some people listening or watching might think that's some kind of like, that's going a bit far. I'm sorry. They're taking away your civil liberties. They're shutting down your business. People have committed suicide. My own mother, she's not getting cancer treatment. You know what I mean? If it is cancer, we don't even know if it's cancerous. They won't even give us CAT scans. It's like, oh, sorry, due to COVID, your appointment is in like 6 months' time when you're possibly dead. You know, like this is madness. And I think we have to start using tactics that are a bit more, extreme than the normal sort of way. But again, do it peacefully. I'm not saying, behave like the IRA did or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying we've just got to get smart about this and remember that we, the citizens, we are the people who are in charge here. All of the MPs, even the Prime Minister, even the Queen, all of them, they work for us. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this. We are their boss. And sometimes we've got to rein it in. We've got to rein in our employees and say, look, we're not paying you because you're doing a lousy job. So that's what I think the next sort of thing is. So once we get, if it just doesn't end by, the only thing I see is that they might end a lockdown for summer, but then they'll just bring it back in autumn. Yeah. Because, so when this ends, it has to end forever. And I think, honestly, after, because obviously I'm running for election for London Assembly and for the Heritage Party, and David's our mayor candidate. And I've said to David Curtin, we've had this conversation. I've said that whether you are elected as mayor or re-elected as assembly member, regardless, the next step after the 6th of May is we're going to do a national campaign for a referendum on lockdown. That's what we're going to do. So that's the exclusive for you, Chris. Yeah.
Well, obviously, it was very nice meeting him and shaking his hand when I came down to London as well, because he's someone I've followed, and obviously I've followed you as well. So it's very nice to have met him.
I was hoping you should have interviewed him. You should have got your camera out, your phone out, and just said, oh, because he doesn't mind that. That's one of the reasons why he's there. You should have just gone, oh, can I have a quick little 5-minute, interview or whatever. And could have uploaded that, you know what I mean? But it's up to you, whatever.
Yeah, I think we would have done, but obviously that guy sent us down the wrong way, and we had to go back before.
Yeah. There was a bit of chaos in terms of directions. Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
But if that hadn't happened, I probably would have said yeah. But there we go. That was just one person who was disruptive.
You have to settle for me then instead. Yeah, you have to the joker in the pack. Unfortunately, the dud. Yeah. You have to sort for me. You have to settle for me. But I am number 2 on the list. So David's obviously number 1. So obviously the plan B is if David isn't elected as mayor on the 6th of May, hopefully he can at least retain his seat. And depending on, because it's done proportional representation, depending on how much vote the Heritage Party gets, hopefully I can be on the London Assembly too as the second person. It works exactly like the European elections. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck for May the 6th.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure the numbers in London on Saturday were about the same number as the people who protested against leaving the European Union. Do you remember that big protest?
I have heard that.
I'm pretty sure we marched a roughly similar route as well, because we went right through Oxford Street, down to Westminster and into Hyde Park.
It was, you mentioned that article you read, and it just mentions all these negative things, but the whole atmosphere. I was actually a little bit overwhelmed, to be honest, Chris. I don't think either of us have probably been in a crowd like that for how long? The last time I went to a rock concert was, a couple of years ago, probably now. So it was quite overwhelming to be around humanity like that. They were all in such a positive, happy, joyful mood. And the music, there's music coming from all directions, and it was basically like a big street party. So. It is a bit disappointing to hear the smears, in the media that it was all this stuff, bunch of crazies. And you look around at the demographic there. I didn't see it myself, but there was some 91-year-old man with his daughter, walking with walking stick, and he was giving it a go, and all the way down to families with their children. So it was a real cross section of normal people in the country from all demographics and all sides of the political spectrum as well, which I mentioned to you. It wasn't just left or right. It was everyone put down their tribal kind of colors, and it was a beautiful thing to see. It was quite overwhelming. I think a couple of times. I think you could appreciate it. it was fascinating.